it's funny. Maybe we should stop calling it collusion because it's really just cooperation. You know, like, collusion has this like really negative connotation, but it's really just working together, which you've always been allowed to do.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
It's organized cooperation.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here's our wheel.
Big name. Here we go.
Let's, get it going. Ready?
You gotta randomize it. Hit randomizer. Hit randomizer.
Oh yeah,
I love
randomizer.
randomizers. I played one earlier today.
The more you shuffle it, the more it looks like it's not rigged.
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boom.
Oh, come on!
Like, bigger name, bigger chance.
Yes!
David.
Oh, it's Uchi.
Oh, sushi! Oh my god! Oh, it was so close.
That was very close. Wow.
So the plan tonight is going to do a live guide. Any questions, feel free to ask as we go along. But how do we come across ZAS? This has been recommended by some other players in the past, and it certainly is. This is a must-play title for Game Boy. Visually stunning, music is amazing, gameplay is terrific. A lot of brilliant concepts from T&E Soft when they created this game. So hopefully everyone that participates in the boost for this month is going to enjoy this game. Always need to show setup so we can confirm that your level of difficulty is on the correct setting. So either normal, hard, or easy. So for the sake of this guide, we're going to do this on easy mode. I'll talk about some of the differences with normal and hard, but the main crux of the differences in general will be that gameplay gets faster and that enemies will have more health. There are going to be a few differences. I'll probably pick up on some more of these because I've mainly played this on normal previously, but there'll be some other differences that I'll describe with gameplay later on normal and hard mode difficulties. Probably the most important thing that we need to do with this game as well is that we need to make sure that we look down.
What console this is? On the Game Boy. You're not looking down on your hands. I feel like that might make you a mod of this stream. How'd you feel about that? You know, it's like sometimes you run into someone and you just are like, wow, like this person's a fucking genius, you know? And it's rare. It's like that kind of intelligence only comes around once in a while. Am I being trolled right now?
The main thing that we're going to be looking at in this guide will be mini bosses and bosses for strategies. Pretty much a lot of it is going to be just remembering the sequences of enemies that come up throughout the run. Some will take some practice, but in general, in general, you get a good idea of what will be happening from one section to the next. And probably mention as well with controls, D-pad just to move around up and down, left and right. We'll demonstrate these as well. B to shoot. B to shoot, and you can also extend your turrets out sideways, so you can shoot in a wider spread. And this will be something valuable as we continue on throughout the run. So there are different power-ups we can collect along the way. I don't think that was specifically a power-up, but we'll certainly point them out as we go. So it's just enemy sequences to begin with. The main thing is don't get hit. Get those. Now this will provide you with a shield. We also want to collect these and build these up as much as possible. I think the maximum amount of shields that you can have on at one time is 3. Once you get to your maximum amount of shields and your maximum power-ups for your ship, which is called Marauder 1, all that you'll just collect 1,000 bonus points after that. But shields are going to be very important in this game to retain, especially in the early stages of the run. That'll be something that I'll explain a little bit later on. But yeah, hold on to shields. Greater chance for some risk and reward, but also survivability in general. This section always comes up before the mini-boss. So easy mode, you'll have really short chains. And the idea is that you can speed up or slow down the movement of the ball and chains. Normal mode, they extend a little bit longer, and hard mode, they're at maximum length. Right, and this will be the mini-boss, which you don't do that way. So we want to try to be not completely at the top of the screen, but the general idea is be positioned back from the middle, and hopefully you won't have a slow encounter. So when this mini-boss comes in, it's just going to be firing lasers. It'll be dropping the occasional ball and chain. So as you can see, it's just dropping the short one on easy mode. Normal mode drops them out a little bit quicker. Hard mode starts to drop them out a lot more. And also the same idea, longer chain that you have to deal with. In general, you want... Certainly I found on normal mode, you want the boss to fire a lot sooner with the laser to begin with. Otherwise you can get out of this rhythm. But the idea of the rhythm of how we want to be attacking the boss, and it'll probably be the same thing for hard mode as well. There's a little bit of speculation with hard mode, by the way. But the idea is, the boss comes in, I'm not going to shoot, but you just always want to be that half a step ahead as much as possible. So that way you can just keep spraying the target. And hopefully you won't be in a situation like that where you have a ball and chain. That can happen where a ball and chain is dropped a bit earlier, it's in your path, and then it's possible to lose a life from there. If you do, at least it's going to be a short reset, but yeah, you've got to go through the build up to this boss again. So go through it one more time. So just holding shoot. That wasn't as ideal. You don't want to be taking a hit there. But yeah, just stay on the boss. On easy mode, that's going to be as quick as it will probably get. Off to the left side of the screen. Normal mode, you'll probably cycle back to the center. That's usually around about the best that you'll get taking on the boss. Hard mode, I'm not completely sure, but hard mode, you just want to dodge as much as possible. Anyhow, that's the mini boss. Let's keep going. Now we've got some stubborn enemies that start to fire missiles as well. And we get a weapon upgrade. Okay, so those... I'll try not to talk too much about those enemies, but yeah, basically enemies that have a bit more health, a bit more of a health pool to them, expect more resistance from them at a higher difficulty level. That's going to be part and parcel with this run. How enemies how and when enemies shoot is going to be completely random. These are random when they drop in. If you can shoot all of them, you're doing really well. Again, just sequences of enemies. Just make sure you keep moving as much as possible. Hopefully without getting hit. And we did take a hit. But we can do this with one shield. So ideally you want 2 shields for this boss. If you don't have 2 shields, it's not the end of the world. You could even do this boss with no shields. Enemy waves spawn fixed, but they're projected. Yeah, so enemy waves are fixed. The sequences are always fixed. Projectiles are randomized. There are some that you can manipulate later on in the game in terms of when they fire, But in general, the ones that fire the round projectiles is randomized. Any that fire lasers, they can be manipulated in terms of when they usually they can be manipulated in terms of when they fire at you. It's funny though, the randomized projectiles are probably the more dangerous ones to be aware of. Right, on to the first boss. Now, one thing you will not do, you will not sit here to begin the fight. Actually, that's probably the closest you can get. That is really pushing it. That was rather lucky. But yeah, when a boss fight starts, don't just sit as close as you can at a boss target. You're most likely going to get destroyed in some fashion. So we're rather fortunate there. Let's lead into this one again. So there are two ways we can do this. I'll show the regular method, which is often the safe method. And we're just shooting down that section. And that's pretty much how that fight goes. So the idea is you want to shoot down between, we'll call them the lanes, to hit your eye, for lack of a better term. The little projectiles that come out there that float around, one of two things will happen. Either you will shoot them, and they will cause the little round projectiles to float around. Again, dangerous sequence, so you don't want to be hit by either of the objects. The other thing that can happen is that these little spiked floaty things will attach to the boss. And it doesn't harm the boss in any way, it just means that they've been collected by the boss and they're out of your path. But our main target is just to shoot straight down the middle, like so. Okay, so boss movement is always the same, left to right in its up and down fashion. I would probably say that's going to be the safe strategy to kill this boss, which you can do on any mode of difficulty. There is a quick kill that we can do, and I'll see if I can pull it off. It might take a few attempts, but the idea is we can stay inside the lane. And this is going to be the tricky bit. If you're going for the quick kill, you're probably going to have a lot of resets. Or you're probably going to put a lot of practice in to stay inside the lanes. As I said, it's not going to be easy to do, especially with only one shield. But the idea is you can stay inside the lanes. If you move with the boss, you'll be shielded from the projectiles. But you run the risk. You run the risk of bumping into the sides. And if you shift a little bit too far, yeah, you take a bump and you lose a shield. And you don't have many iframes to save you in this game. But that's how quick you can do the boss fight. So it saves the hassle of having to shoot further away and dodge projectiles. So if you're able to stay inside that lane, yeah, you'll get a really quick kill there. You can do this on, so as we've demonstrated, you can do this on easy mode. You can do this on normal difficulty. I've been able to do it in practice on normal difficulty. I haven't tried it in hard mode, but I imagine if you've got good maneuverability, you should be able to theoretically do the kill in hard mode as well. Anyway, that is stage 1. Which is one of our more open world stages. Stage 2 is going to be a more enclosed area now. So straight away you can see the main part of the environment that we need to avoid striking into, and this is a big part as to why you need to make sure that if you're playing on emulator, you have frame blending or ghosting enabled, because there are very distinct graphics layers in terms of what is physical environment that you want to avoid crashing into, and what is basically backdrop, which moves at a beautiful rate in this game. In this stage, you'll definitely make a lot more use of your turrets, and you'll want to be firing at the beginning. This is the stage where you probably want to try to move ahead a little bit more where you can. You can also allow your turrets to overlap past walls to be able to deal with enemies such as that. Now, with these, let them fall. You can shoot them continuously and they will perish, but the safest thing to do is take at least one out and then move through the gap. Just hang here for the moment. Take out those two things. I like to move up. And this is, I like to call this a train section. We get 2 train sections in this stage. It's up to you whether you want to move up or if you want to hang back. I noticed that in Zericc's playthrough, he tended to hang back, which is completely fine. Just don't move up too far ahead on the screen unless you know what is coming up next. But I like to move ahead here so I can just get on top of enemies because we've got some little turrets that we need to deal with. Like so. You can take those out. I like to stay there. So the 2 things we picked up a shield and we picked up, I like to call them a cup. It's a continue up. Continue ups, you might use a continue later on in the game to begin with. Just remember that if you do lose a ship, that your upgrades will be reset. It's not the end of a run. You can still complete the game with low to no upgrades. It's more of a challenge. It's going to require a lot more damage to deal as a result. I'd like to shimmy in this section just to deal with those wider enemies. And should be 4 more. 6, that's right. 6 of those. Gonna make a save there, and we come up to our first mini boss, which I guess we'll show how this mini boss moves in general. So it's pathing, moves around the room, firing out these tiles, not completely at random, and then dashes down the middle, moves up, and then we'll do the reverse. You probably won't see this much of the fight. The tile distribution sequence, as far as I remember, remains the same. I don't think there's anything that changes with it. It might be different on some other levels of difficulty. But that is basically how the boss is going to maneuver. And yeah, you won't leave that screen until the boss is being downed. Easiest way to deal with a boss on easy difficulty is just to concentrate attack into it. And usually the fight's over as quick as that. There is a possibility. Now, the great thing about the turrets extending outwards is that you don't really lose damage as such. There might be some occasions where you have to wait for projectiles to exit the screen before more fire, but otherwise, if you're in close range and you have a wide target, you can open up the turrets to be able to deliver more damage on your target. Yeah, just for a little bit of science, we can check if just getting that little bit more spread out damage will help. Not really. Probably in this case you want to keep the turrets in, so it's more concentrated fire. But certainly with more weapon upgrades, it becomes a very viable strategy. But yeah, easy mode, you'll move back down to there. I think on normal difficulty, there is a safe spot that you can move into. The bottom left of the screen. So pretend we're firing. And yeah. So you can, I think you can tuck in that left little alcove on normal difficulty. It might be the same thing on hard difficulty as well. Again, I'm not completely sure. that'll be something for us to try out if anyone's going to have a crack at hard difficulty. But that's essentially the boss in easy mode. Let's take it down rather quickly. Just continually fire. That way you get that head start of damage. And it's dealt with. That's all that you need to worry about with the mini boss there. Straight after that, spread the turrets out again. Just to be able to deal with those first couple of enemies. We have a wider train section that we need to deal with this time. You'll sometimes get some visual clues or indicators in the background. This will be it's useful for this stage. It's very useful for stage 5 later on in the run. Which we'll explain when we get up to there. This bit, you want to be careful if you are moving up ahead. Again, you can hang back behind the train tracks if you want to, but if you're moving up ahead, you've got to be firing through this section. While there are 3 laser turrets off to the left side of the screen, you're going to have some step-placed turrets on the right side, which can very possibly attack you if you're not too careful, or rather unfortunate. Again, watching out for these. Just clear them out of the way. Watch out for these turrets at the top. You have to use your wide turret to be able to clear a path through here. You've got to make sure that you clear these, destroyable obstacles. There we go. You've got to make sure you destroy these obstacles, because otherwise you will take damage, and yeah, you will lose a ship if you crash into these. Again, you can just move up a little bit just to get a little bit of a head start on some of these creatures, especially those two turrets. And we get our shield. And we are into the next boss area. Just to show mechanically how this boss works, the boss is going to be firing tiles at our position. So we need to dodge out of the way as best as possible. And then the boss pops out its head, swings its, lack of a better term, tentacles around. When the tentacles sweep over the area, they will clear out the tiles. So if you've got tiles that have obscured the boss, now the tiles will block your attacks. So if you're just sitting in front of the boss expecting, like, you know what, I'm going to shoot him, I'm going to get him. The problem is, when the boss pops its head out, you're not going to have room to be able to attack. But again, the space will get cleared with the tiles. And it's just rinse and repeat. That's the gist of how the boss works. There we go. Area gets cleared as a result. Easiest way to deal with this boss, and this is where shields are going to be important. So for this strategy, you will need at least 2 shields. To take essentially 1 hit from each tentacle that swings through. So the best thing to do is position off to the side. Watch out, especially if it starts firing from the right side. Tiles will come out. Boss comes up, get some damage in, and charge forward. Charging forward too early, while having the overlap of tentacles, will destroy your ship completely. So because of where it crosses over in the middle, the tentacles just tend to stay in that position a lot more, and it's just a general rule of thumb. If you're sitting in an obstacle for longer than usual, you'll just take more damage. So expect on higher levels of difficulty, tiles will fly out faster. I think even more tiles fly out on the higher difficulty levels. There didn't seem to be as many on easy difficulty. And the tentacles swing around faster, so it's a faster fight sequence that you go through in the end. Stage 3. This is my favourite stage in the game. Cool graphics, cool music. It's a lot of fun. It's another open world stage, similar to stage 1. Again, different sequences of enemies that you have to deal with. Some combinations will take a little bit of practice on this level, especially after the mini boss. But we'll deal with that as we go along. So, safest thing to do, definitely have the turrets out. Left side, right side, and then we'll have waves that come towards the middle. And then these ones, watch out for in particular. But if you've got your wide turrets, you should be able to take it out. Another shield. And now these guys. These guys that drop down. What I like to do with these enemies is take out one side and not worry about chasing the other side. They will fire a laser essentially when they are at your height. So if you're constantly moving with them, if they're moving down and you're moving at the same height as them, they will continually fire lasers at you. I think it even happens on easy difficulty. So if you can, cross over the path as soon as possible. So you can see, yep, so following it up. Yep. And then these guys that come out. Definitely concentrate fire on these guys. Rules with rockets in this game as well. When enemies fire rockets on easier difficulty, the rockets just trail off. Normal, they will start to... On normal difficulty, the rockets will start to bend around and come back towards you. Hard difficulty, yeah, these rockets will chase the living Jesus out of you. They're just gonna follow you as much as possible. So if you can deal with these rockets on a high difficulty level, you're doing really, really well. Okay, now the next sequence. I should have made a save state there, but on easy difficulty, you should be able to use the width of the turrets to be able to take them out. If you find, especially in that last wave, where the enemies are coming out, that you're not able to deal with all of them, stay above the bottom of the screen, because those last enemies will sweep low, and yeah, you'll avoid taking damage. I don't... Is that the last wave? No. That's right, we've got... Yep. 2 of those. Oh no, 3 of those. I'm going to make a save there, because that's our last group of enemies before the mini-boss. I guess first of all, let's show mechanically how the mini-boss works. So here it is, head and hands, and we're trying to shoot, but the hands are blocking. So we need to be able to break those hands apart. Since the hands block damage and they cannot be destroyed, the only thing we can do is spread the turrets out. And now because the turrets are wider, the hands go out wider. So it's a clever little mechanic. So again, unpredictable balls. Lasers will drop at random, but will be in predictable positioning from the hands. And eventually you break through with the mini-boss. That's the way that I played the fight on normal, and I think other people have played the fight on easy difficulty as well, and be the same thing for hard mode. However, there can be an easy way to deal with this fight. So one thing that will point out an observation, I want you to watch the hands of the boss. Watch the height of the hands in relation to the head. So the hands never travel past the top half of the head. They're always waving around and never go higher than the boss's head. So even if I'm sitting up here in the corner, where I've only got bullets to dodge, you'll notice that the hands never go above the head. So that's a trick that we can use in terms of strategically dealing with this boss a bit easier. So taking advantage of the width of our turrets, we can get a lot more fire concentrated on the head if we stay in the top part of the screen. It is risky though, because while we negate the lasers, we still run a big risk of being hit by the round projectiles. So we'll see if we can do this. So open up the turrets. Try to get across as best as possible. There we go. And that's probably gonna be the fastest way that you deal with this boss. Unfortunately, there's not really any way to be able to concentrate fire by having the turrets in. You have to have the wider turrets. If you're comfortable with dodging down low, but willing to have damage blocked, stay in the lower half of the screen, you have to have the turrets out. But otherwise, you're probably going to have your best opportunity with a bit of risk and reward being in the top half of the screen. Turrets out. Get in early. And if you get in early, that's how quick the fight can conclude. Certainly on easy difficulty. I'm not sure for normal or hard difficulty, but it could be similar on those levels of difficulty as well. Top left corner, turrets out, start shooting before the boss drops in, and even when the boss drops in, I don't think you can get hit by the hands. I think the hands start out wider. So yep, so you can see with the hands are positioned more to the right side of the screen, so you're going to be a lot safer to begin with. The only thing is just making sure that you don't get, you're not continually hitting the hand to start off with. There we go. That's a lot better. Okay, then we have our rings in the next section. Collect a 1-up, and now in this section you do not have to collect the 1,000 points. You can play this next section safe if you like. When I've run this, I've normally not worried about picking up the bonus points, especially on normal difficulty. Whoop. In fact, it probably... What I found just then is that the game definitely gets a bit more laggy. The game gets a bit more laggy if you're trying to backtrack and collect the 1,000 points. The safest thing I found in general is just keep moving up through the screen. Avoid mucking around too much with movement. It's probably going to save you a fraction of time. But yeah, any points are collected just going to be on the right side. You can imagine on high levels of difficulty, these will be spinning faster. So you've got to get your timing on point. I don't normally collect the one in the middle, and that's why, because you can easily lose your pattern. But that's that section. It's a fun little navigation section after the mini boss. This will probably take a bit of practice to deal with different combinations, especially on high levels of difficulty. So I like to do turrets out just to deal with the width of the enemies. Deal with those. There will be some rockets coming out. So there's our first one. There'll be another 2 that come out later on. This combination can be tricky, especially on the high levels of difficulty. And I find being towards the top left of the screen, for some reason, just puts me in a safer spot. I don't know what it... Yeah, it's a weird section. But yeah, the combination of having the item come up, I think it's your final upgrade that you pick up, if I remember correctly. The couple of enemies that float in, but but the laser boys as well. It can be a really awkward combination. You probably will lose a shield on some occasions in this section. Not the end of the world if that happens. As long as you still have a spare shield or 2, yeah, you should be okay. Even with no shields, you might be able to survive through to the boss. Yeah, that didn't go so well. Yeah, and it's got to be top. Yeah, that's right, top left corner, because then you have some more enemies that drop in. So just keep shooting no matter what. this will induce a bit of... Those two rocket firers will always induce a little bit of lag. Just deal with them as best as possible. If you can take out the rockets as well, that will also save you a little bit of lag. Take out one side, then shield, and this will bring us up to the stage 3 boss. Again, as a demonstration, do not just sit here to begin with, because the boss will damage you. Now, the first thing the boss will do is it'll take... the top part of the boss is going to move away from everything else. Now, this is not indication of like, oh, there's my target, let's go. Because you will take damage. So it's not until the lower section of the boss goes into its faded section. When it goes into its fade like that, then you can move through. Now you can move safely up. And you want to move up directly in front of the boss. So then from here, we're constantly shooting. There will be enemies that drop out. And they can be really annoying. They can be very annoying because they can drop in an inconvenient section, and if they drop past you, they will fire projectiles. So while we're trying to navigate this maze of constant missiles being dropped by the two shields as well, having to get past these extra floating projectiles is not fun. It's very difficult to deal with, but that's a general strat which I find is definitely a bit faulty. What you can do to deal with those enemies is that you can open out your turrets and then close them back in again if you want to concentrate fire. Probably the easiest thing to do is just to leave the turrets open, leave the turrets out. So that way then we've got concentrated fire going into the main target, and also we'll be dealing with any extra enemies that drop out at the same time. Just like that. And ends up being a much quicker kill. So on easy mode, you'll only have one enemy. On normal difficulty, I think there'll be a minimum of 2 enemies that come out from the boss, unless you get exceptionally lucky, which I haven't had occur yet on normal difficulty. But yeah, again, you can make the fight end really quickly. Open turret, it's more damage that's going straight to the boss. Projectiles, I think they're just they're the same damage value. So yeah, definitely take advantage of that damage as much as possible. It's random when the enemy gets dropped out from our main target, so where possible, avoid getting hit by it. You might need to hang back a little bit. That was really unlucky that time. That was a really late drop. But that could work in your favor, because if you get a really late enemy drop like that, you might have none to deal with on easy difficulty. In fact, you should be able to do this boss without taking a hit at all. There we go. Much better. And that's the most efficient way to deal with that boss. Stage 4. Stage 4 is going to be a closed world area. Straight away, start of the stage, got to deal with 2 butterflies. Whatever you do, do not linger around in the middle here, because otherwise, this will come up, and you'll get crushed. So this is a stage where you have to make a decision which side of the stage do you want to go, left or right. Now, those projectiles, actually I better mention those projectiles, they are something different. Crescent-shaped projectiles have a curve to them. On the lower difficulty level, it's less of a curve that the projectiles take in terms of their pathing. But on higher difficulty levels, they will start to target you a lot more. So they will bend around and try to target you. Don't muck around with them. Get rid of those enemies as soon as possible. If you see that crescent projectile come out, try to bend back to the other side of it. So if you can see that it's going to be swinging, if it's going to be arcing around to the right, try to bend back down to the left if you can, and vice versa. We'll look at the two paths here in terms of which way you go. I like to go the left side for two reasons. One, I've got static enemies, and you get a shield to pick up. So there's a little bit more work to do with plowing through debris and the cocoons. Whereas the right side, it's a little bit less debris. You've got butterflies that you can just blast out real quick, but it's a weapon upgrade on the right side. But yeah, at this stage, I think you should be at maximum. You should be at your maximum gun level. Okay, take out the horse heads. Those three are fine. Let this drop a little bit lower, so it's easy to pick up the shield. And if you get time, go back and take out the other horse head. Now, the cocoons on the side, if they stay up too long, you can hear that little chink sound, which means they're taking no damage. They basically evolve into their butterfly form, which is when they'll either do round projectiles, missiles, or crescents. So we don't want to be dealing with any of those as best as possible. So no panic if it ends up coming out of its cocoon. Just deal with it as fast as you can. Just like that. Deal with the horse heads. Weapon upgrade, and this should lead us up to the mini boss. So the mini boss is a little bit of whack-a-mole to begin with. And what we mean by whack-a-mole? We have these eggs. The mini boss is going to hatch from any one of these eggs. So you've got a bit of a difficult decision. You can either just walk in blasting all of these eggs. And keep in mind, on higher difficulty levels, there are going to be more eggs to deal with. So here are the eggs. And you can see it wasn't until one of the last ones that the boss came out. Now, each of these eggs, I think, just released one projectile each. On normal mode, and I think it's the same thing on hard mode, they release 2 projectiles each. So, yeah, if you got these eggs... So, on high difficulty levels, if you got those eggs, and you just go in blasting, you're going to have a lot of projectiles to deal with. It's possible to dodge them, but it's going to be a little bit of an uncomfortable exercise. So anyway, so we know where the boss is going to be. Let's go to the left side and the right side instead. So there's the boss. Clear out the space, and then again, crescent shape missiles. So there's some good examples there with the last couple of projectiles, how much the crescents can bend around to chase after your ship. So you can see the last one, it's bend to the left. I've moved off to the left. It's going to keep chasing me. So the best thing to do, move down to the right. And we're safe from there. But yeah, as that boss flies around the screen firing its crescent projectiles, it will start to lay more eggs. Same deal, if you shoot the egg, releases round projectiles. There's not really too much more to this boss, because you got to hatch the boss, and the boss could be anywhere. You're more likely going to be positioned at the bottom of the screen. You're probably, your safest area is going to be the lower half of the screen. It's really the only area you can be in as well, because you've got to be able to shoot the boss, and you can only shoot forwards. If there's a faster strategy, that would be great to know. But that's pretty much the crux of dealing with it. So this section, hang back. Probably the main enemies you want to deal with in this section are going to be the horse heads for their missiles, especially on high difficulty levels. No stress if you don't get the butterfly straight away. You can catch those up, but yeah, the horse heads are more of a problem with the missiles. Okay, take out that butterfly. Then this section, get another cup. Only worry about clearing out the middle in this section, because a nice little surprise is going to occur. Where the walls close in. And when the walls close in, yeah, just make sure you're not hanging out to the side. You will get crushed. And this is going to bring us up to our second mini-boss. This is our first stage with 2 mini-bosses. The main thing we want to focus on going into this section, we've got 2 horse turrets that we need to take out. One on the right, one on the left. Make a save there. So close the turrets in. Concentrate fire straight up to the right. Swing over to the left. And at this stage, the boss is still not active. The boss will not become active until they're a little bit further over to the left side of the screen. So I don't think you can get an advantage with a wide turret hit. I could be wrong. Alright, so yeah, so essentially it's when the boss is rounding up to the left side. Easiest thing to use to begin with is closed-in turret. If you're able to maneuver around quick enough, especially when the boss is moving close to some of the walls and debris in the middle, you might be able to open up the turret wide to be able to get some extra cheeky hits in before its head is available to attack on the right side. So try to swing around. Essentially, that's it. The faster thing to do might not be hanging around on the left side of the wall, but maybe hanging around more the middle. That might be the fastest you can do on easy difficulty. Yeah, it's awkward movement. It's, again, clever design in terms of how the boss moves around the screen. You can only attack its head, but you've also got to watch out for the missiles. So probably the safest thing to do while it's moving vertically on the left side, just keep the turrets extended. Once it bends back into the right, then you can close in. Now, yeah, that's roughly the quickest that you'll kill that boss in. Anyway, that's the second mini boss for stage 4. And we'll continue on. So take your time moving into eliminating those enemies. This section can be a little bit problematic where the cocoons will hatch and will serve not just as a shield for the butterfly, but also for the horse heads. Priority in that situation is going to be the missiles. So deal with the missiles if that's going to be the case. And once the missiles are cleared, butterflies should be out and attackable. Deal with those, and then you should be able to deal with the horse heads and any further missiles. So getting a little bit close to the debris. There's a little bit of damage there on the horse heads. Take out the one side, and then the other. Left side, right side. Be central. Do not rush ahead in this section. Do not rush up immediately to the top of the screen, because otherwise... I might as well show what happens if you rush up ahead. You take damage. And it's not damage you want to take because it's an item and it's a shield. So losing a shield in order to get a shield is not beneficial. Hang back, shoot. In fact, in that situation, we're at maximum shield. So if you know you're at maximum shield, you could be cheeky and just do something like that. But otherwise, probably just to be safe, hang back, wait, collect the item, stay central. And now get to the top. And we're safe. And we're up to the stage 4 boss. Again, mechanically, very interesting boss that we have to deal with. So boss appears. And then it's like, yep, we're going to shoot, and... oh no, we can't shoot. We're all gummed up. So there's nothing we can do to shoot there. The other thing we can do is open up the turrets. So it's the turrets that have been blocked off. So we can only shoot from the main ship at our target, which is going to be there when the hands are open. What we can do to begin with, before our turrets get gummed up, we can get a little bit of concentrated fire in on the boss. So at its maximum width, you can get inside, but as it starts to close in, that's when the hitbox reignites. So then it's like there's a case of, right, can't get inside anymore. So you're most likely going to be on the safe side. If there's a way of getting a cheeky hit on the inside, yeah, well done if you can do that. It's very difficult to do, but there is one little benefit if you can get a situation like that. When our turrets are gummed up, if those turrets make contact with the boss, you can clear their lack of a better term debuff, and you possibly get concentrated fire on the boss again.
Oh! If you hit the pods on the enemy, then the thing comes off, and you can shoot with your drones. Did anyone else see this? No, I don't think anyone... is anyone else doing this?
And that'll be stage 4. Off we go. Stage 5. We are back to a closed world stage. So again, similar to stage 2 and 4. This is going to be more similar to stage 2. This is the most beautiful of all the stages, especially on higher difficulty levels. Stage 5 is an absolute treat. So let's just, we'll go straight into it. Deal with the larvae flying around the room. Just keep shooting towards the top. Very important, just make sure you're clearing out that as much as possible. In the background, I don't know if you might be able to see it on the faded sections. These types of areas that you can see in the background that look like, lack of a better term, that look like tablets, look like Dr. Mario tablets. They are an indication of where some platforms are going to be dropped into place. On easy difficulty, the platforms will not become solid until they are in their final resting position. But on high difficulty levels, you definitely never want to be in their path on normal or hard mode, because they will one-shot you. They will just rip through the shields on your ship. So I should be able to. Yeah, so that wasn't the barrier that hit me that made the damage. That was the projectile. Yeah, the first barrier that was dropping down dealt no damage. That'll happen. This is only on easy difficulty, and I guess in a sense to sort of treat it as 4 columns or 3.5 columns, you want to be positioned in column 2. Once the first 3 sets of platforms have dropped in, move through and be staying on the left side. Okay, or you can just, because it's easy difficulty, you could just stay there and no damage. Another weapon upgrade if you happen to be short. I'm going to make a save here. Leading up to this is going to be the first mini boss area. Don't be afraid to hang back here. It's completely fine to hang back to allow these enemies just to fire over the top and to allow them to move in towards the middle, especially on high difficulties where they're moving faster. Except in that situation, for some reason, we didn't get damage onto that one. No, we don't want to take damage there. If need be, just move through. Just watch out behind because they will still fire projectiles from behind. And this brings us up to our mini boss area, which looks really, really cool. Again, high difficulty levels, they will damage you if they drop in. And this is the mini boss. 4 heads. And they always follow around on the same path. So move around on the outside. And then moving in. Always firing, dropping lasers. Easiest way to do, I guess the easiest way to deal with this on normal difficulty. Just fire up immediately. I find if you're positioned a little bit off center, I like to use the dots running up and down the sides as a guideline. If you've got the side of the ship positioned over those dots, any missiles that are dropped directly down the middle will miss you. But if it's a little bit towards your side, it will hit you. So there should be no. Only there we go. That pixel should be safe. Yeah. And that's probably all that you're gonna have. That's probably all you're gonna do on easy difficulty. You can roughly do the same thing on normal difficulty, but the issue is these mini bosses. The bosses are going to have more health on the high difficulty levels. So what you might end up doing. There we go. I want to get better positioning there. The issue there if you're too close. So every time one of these takes a hit, it will slow up its movement. But yeah, all 4 heads are just going to be barging their way through. This might even be a distance situation. So just being positioned the ideal distance apart. If they make their way around the outside areas and make their way back in, especially if you deal with the first 2 heads, take advantage of the turrets. Opening out the turrets is a big advantage in this game to squeeze out that extra bit of damage on targets as you work through your sections. So I might try roughly there this time. Ooh, have to dodge that. There we go. So actually that worked out a lot better. So even if you don't take out the first 2 heads in the middle, if you get as much damage in on those as possible, it'll be an easy cleanup job to be able to do to finish them off. And in fact, probably will end up being quicker. We'll try one more time. So roughly there. Move back. Rather fortunate there with the timing. That's a really good kill. Yeah, if there's a faster way to do it, yeah, we'll definitely pass it on in the Board Boosters Discord. Next bit, no rush to get through the gap immediately. You can take your time. And the great thing is the projectiles from those first 4 bots will be blocked by those barriers. Now, the next section. Again, left side or right side. you're going to have respawning eggs that you need to deal with. So the easiest thing to do is, especially on easy difficulty level, focus in on one side. If you want to, it's not a bad idea to do so. Take out the other side as well. So concentrate fire on one side. Take out the other side because it definitely makes it a lot easier to deal with less floating enemies and less things spawning on screen. So again, it doesn't hurt to... Yeah, we don't want to take a hit there. Actually, for this one, for that fourth one, it's definitely a lot easier to deal with that one from the right side. So yeah, let those enemies drop. They won't harm you. Just yeah, stay there. Got to take that one out. If you're feeling fancy, you can wrap around to the left to be able to deal with that last enemy. You don't have to do that. I probably wouldn't recommend doing that. But what you can do is you can just hang it on the right side of the screen, and all you'll need to worry about doing then is cleaning up any loose larvae that's being fired out by those eggs. Just worry about dodging those projectiles, and then you can worry about if there's any loose larvae that fly out. So that's a really good example of loose larvae flying out. We've got a weapon upgrade and a shield. Shield is going to be the high priority, so no stress if you don't pick up the item on the left side. Weapon upgrade, especially if you're at maximum level. Worry about the right side upgrade. I'm going to make a save here. And this is our second mini-boss. Clear that out. The boss is not active yet, and won't be for a while. You'll want to take advantage of opening and closing turrets for this boss. So, can move a little bit wider. Actually, you want to be on the right side. You probably want to be more on the right side to deal with this boss. So move in and... Yep. And it's because of that second wave of hands... Well, yeah, we'll call them hands that it's waving... pardon the pun there. Second wave of hands that are moving around the screen. The second set always extend lower. So you want to make sure you have time to be able to move off to the right side and then to move back in. On easy difficulty, you could possibly sacrifice a shield to deal with it. Higher difficulties, it can be a bit trickier, especially with the faster moving hands. So move out and in. And that's pretty much, that's the crux of that mini-boss there. Just expect it's going to take longer on higher difficulty levels, just more health. Faster rotation of hands. But you might be able to go start left, move around. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's just tank a hit. Let's just tank a hit of... Oh, that was... Actually, I'd like to know what I did just then. That's never happened before.
He said it! He said it!
So it went to fire projectiles, but it didn't. Nothing came out. So if you're at maximum shield, just, yeah, tank a hit. And should be able to get past the boss. I'd like to know how that did not fire, though. There we go. And on its demise, you can see sad face in the background. And more girders, beams, whatever you want to call them, are going to drop into this section. High difficulty levels will damage. This section can be this section can be something to work through. So probably better to move up higher where possible. Open turrets, constantly shoot. You can try to... So on easy difficulty, press ahead as much as you can. Took a hit there, but you can... You can pick up 2 shields leading up to the boss. So the game is generous in terms of giving out shields. Doesn't hurt to hang back a bit just in case if you're not sure about, especially if you can see where there's going to be dropping into. That's a 1-up, and we should be getting our last shield up ahead. So just, yeah, which will take up to the boss. But if you're not comfortable going on the right side of this section, you can go on the left side. The only problem with going on the left side is it's very difficult to pick up the shield that drops on the right side of the screen. But again, although, if you are mindful, you can push up a little bit, especially on easy difficulty. You can push up to the top of this lane. So get to there, just push to the top there. And just, yep. And because there are a couple of girders that are dropping deeper, or a couple of beams that are dropping deeper on this screen, it's a little bit safer to pick up that shield on easy difficulty. If need be, I think you can let it drop a little bit further, and it's also a viable option on higher levels of difficulty. So there's, yeah, a little one to the left, a little one to the right. Take out those. Yeah, just, you can wait. And yeah, you can just sneak through like that. And you can even, yeah, you can even take out one of the laser boys there. Just don't crash into a wall like that. So move up to the top. Oops, took a hit. And took another turret hit. Move through. I think the only thing is I'm not going to have maximum amount of shields for this boss in case something goes wrong. But yeah, we should be okay. We should be fine. And we go into the boss. Right. So last boss of the game. It's a two-stage fight, two-phase fight. First of all, we have to deal with what looks like a gelatinous cube. Yeah, our wonderful space overlords, cube of jelly, with a shield around it. You can attack past the shield to begin with on this boss. So whether you want to have turrets in or turrets out, not a bad idea to have turrets out. You can possibly squeeze a little bit of extra damage in. So towards the top of the screen, and when the cube gets to about there, okay, on easy difficulty, that's probably as quick as it's going to be. That's rather fortunate. If you can get that on easy difficulty, you're going to have a very quick kill on the boss. On normal and hard difficulty, again, more health to work through. You will definitely have to dodge the ring that gets flung at by the boss. So might as well demonstrate. So I won't shoot it, but you're dealing with the cube, and then you always want this to fire out as wide as possible. That's not bad with a little bit of angle, but you definitely don't want it fired out vertically because you're not going to have as much uptime to deal damage on the boss. And you don't really want to hang around this phase for too long. It's a really boring phase. It's just, yeah, cube flings triangles, and in a circle. That's all that it really is. So if you can get a wider arc. So dealing damage. Oops, not enough. Far out wide. Come back in. And she'll be able to deal with it. So anyway. So that's phase 1. Again, that's on easy difficulty. You'll be able to burn through that real quick. The next phase is hectic as. Yeah, we've got to save there. We'll just show how this, without firing at the bosses. So we've got two lizard overlords. And we've got the round random not completely random projectiles, but they're fired out in an arc. But you've got the arrowheads. The arrowheads will try to make a beeline and change direction to move towards you, which make this section a bit more complicated in terms of dodging damage. But yeah. But basically the arrowheads are they're a 2 movement mechanic, so they'll have 1 movement coming up from the boss, and then their second movement is going to be moving at your location, and then they exit the screen, and that's pretty much it from them. So 1, 2, change of direction. Okay, so you can expect that this on high difficulty levels is going to be a bit more. There's going to be a bit more action. It's going to move a little bit faster, and yeah, with higher health pool, there's going to be a bit more to deal with as well. So dealing with the boss, obviously we need to shoot the boss. So let's say we take out the left one. It's like, great, now I can work on the right one. Oh no! He resurrected the other one to full health. So it's not a case of take out one, then just take out the other. The idea is like, nope, spread damage, and make sure you finish them off at low health. The quicker way to deal with this is to have turrets out. And you can see how much faster it is to pour the damage into the target. I don't think on easy difficulty you'll be able to do that quick enough on the other side. Yeah, you're not going to have enough time. So even with turrets out, you're not going to have enough time to be able to deal with that. So the idea is get a bit of spread damage to begin with. And you can get quite a bit of spread damage in. Favor one side, go to the other. You might tank a hit. Not that many hits though. Spread a bit of damage out. You can concentrate a bit of damage. It's pretty much going to be the gist of it. But if you position in the middle, your main ship's artillery is going to hit both targets. So you can get quite a bit of damage across the 2 targets to begin with, and then it's just going to be a case of rotate a bit of damage to one side and then to the other side. There we go, damage into both. Get a little bit to the left, a bit to the right, back to the left side, right side, and that's your fight. The fight is not over yet. If you have no shields left, your ship is not invincible yet. You can still get a double knockout, and as the rule usually goes in video games, a double knockout means that you have not defeated the boss. You've got to backtrack, and you're going to have no weapon upgrades. So if you do that to begin with, if you end up dying in this boss or unfortunately suffering a double knockout, and you haven't completed a run yet, have a go at completing the run on your simple artillery, on your low percent artillery, and It's a good little challenge, but even on easy difficulty, it can be done. I've done it on normal mode, where my first runs had, or my first attempts, I bombed out on the boss and just went back and still managed to finish the run on the simple upgraded artillery. But yep, avoid. So you can see you can still take damage. And it's not until now. So once we lose control of Marauder 1, that's the end of the run then. There we go. Actually, that was without taking a hit. And that's the run. So there's a bit of flexibility in strategy, especially on easier levels of difficulty. Probably the main thing to remember over the course of the run is that there are opportunities to open out and close in the turrets. Take advantage of that, because where there are opportunities to be able to deal more damage, or to maintain uptime of damage on your targets, it's well worth doing. And then you get a really cool end sequence with our space overlords, yeah, having a nice snap in space. But yep, that's Chikyuu Kaihou Gun ZAS. Yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to fire them now. But otherwise, that's the guide, and that's what the run can potentially look like.